Hello, everybody, and welcome to Analytical Fanboys. I am, of course, your host, Simeon Scott, and I am joined, as always, by the deafening Chris Gaston. How are you doing, sir?
What?
I said, how are you doing?
What?
I said, how are you doing?
What?
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay, good. Glad to hear it. Today we are going to be talking about something I put on the list. One of my favorite films, actually. We are going to be talking about Kiki's Delivery Service. One of the only Studio Ghibli films I've seen, and actually the film that to me as a kid was the Studio Ghibli film, because I had this on VHS as a kid, and my older sister played it constantly. So it was just kind of a constant presence in my childhood till I was about 12 years old. And I hadn't really seen it since then, but I had a lot of fond memories of it. So at 22, this is my first time seeing this film in 10 years. And I've kind of gained a new perspective on it, and that might be interesting to talk about. But first, Chris, had you seen this film before? If not, what did you think of it? If so, what did you think of it this time?
I've seen this before. I'm a pretty big fan of Ghibli. Ghibli, Dribly. Say it both ways. Piss everyone off.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite of the studio's films. My favorite is Porco Rosso.
Oh, nice.
Porco Rosso, followed by Lupin, then this, then Howls, then Spirited Away.
But so I think it's safe to say you've seen most of them.
I've seen a lot of his films. I haven't seen some of his retirement era work. Best way to put it. Like, I've seen a good number of it.
I have only seen free Studio Ghibli films. I have seen this one, Spirited Away, and fucking god damn it, what is it called? I'm
Totoro?
looking at my DVD. No, not Totoro. I've not seen Totoro, but I know basically everything about Totoro because people have fucking would not shut up about that movie when I was a teenager.
Totoro.
The Wind Rises. That is the other one I have seen. That's actually one I saw in theaters. I saw that in a theater that was completely empty except for myself and a 20-something couple.
But no, I really like this movie. It's not weaker. It's less strong than the other films by Miyazaki. Okay, best way to put it. It's weaker as a film, but stronger as an experience.
Yes. I feel like this is the Miyazaki film for people who are already extremely familiar with Miyazaki's kind of isms and whatnot, because this film often gets accused of being like not Miyazaki enough, but watching it this time I was like, no, all of his isms are here, they're just extremely subtle.
Oh yeah. And like you even get the hair thing with the broom.
Yeah, that moment is great. Actually, I'm just gonna go straight on to this. When I was a kid, I really liked this movie because of the flying scenes. I thought they were really fun, and I would watch them. I would sit down as a kid. I saw the movie all the way through a handful of times, but like I said, the movie was on all the time at my house when I was a kid. So like whenever I saw one of the flying scenes was on, I would sit down and watch that, and like 20 minutes later, I'd get up and go do something else. This time watching it all the way through, I still really enjoyed those scenes, but I more so latched on to like the character stuff with Kiki, sort of the second act doldrums, if you will.
Oh yeah. Because I think Kiki, we haven't even explained the premise of Kiki's Delivery Service.
Kiki, I don't think she ever gets a last name, is a young witch in training. She is 13 years old, and it is tradition, apparently, for witches in Japan that when you are 13, you go to another city to live on your own and train and sort of figure out what your special skill is going to be. It's basically going off to college, but at the same time as you're getting your first period. It's about...
You become a Pokemon master.
Yeah, it's about her going on her Pokemon journey and sort of figuring out what it's like to live in the real world.
Also, I don't think this takes place in Japan.
I
Stylistically, this doesn't look Japan.
I looked after watching the movie, and it did say that Miyazaki went abroad to like study a certain city for the movie. I can't remember what city exactly it is, but I think it's in Sweden.
Because this is very much a European style town.
It's also an extremely well laid out and beautiful town. Like, I'd love to vacation here.
Oh yeah, this is the kind of town I want to live in. But we live in America, land of the grid.
Yeah. The grid, or the shoddily laid out roads that were eventually forced into a grid when it got connected to the rest of the country.
But I mean, like, hey, at least I live near, like, I live in a very, very old town relative to, like, the age of America. So it has some of those weird turny bits in places, so that's fun. And, like, right next to the oldest, still currently in use city in America, St. Augustine.
Nice.
So I get my fill of old European style towns enough.
I kind of have that too, because I'll just say it. I don't give a fuck if people know where I live. I live in Greenville, South Carolina, which is literally just a town where a bunch of hikers found a really nice big green hill and said, we're going to make our houses here. And then eventually it became a city. And the roads are fucking insane because of that.
Good. I don't care if they're poor for public anything. I like them because they're fun.
Yeah.
But no, this is a fun, laid back, like, there's two Miyazaki films. There's the Miyazaki films where everything's going, and then there's the Miyazaki films where nothing's going.
And it's more like you have to look for stuff, which I kind of prefer. I like that about this film, where, like, as a kid, I had the very laid back experience of, oh yes, it's cute girl cartoon. She's flying around on a broom. I like that. I wanna fly around on a broom too. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh my god, she's getting depressed. This is deep as shit. I relate to this so hard. I'm gonna cry.
I want some bread. Give me my bread.
Yeah.
My bread.
So let's just start jumping around on some topics and stuff. What's like a plot line you want to talk about with this?
Clint McElroy learning some fucking respect.
Clint McElroy.
Not Clint, Griffin. It's Griffin McElroy.
I still don't know who you're talking. Are you talking about one of the dub actors?
No, goddamn. The McElroy brothers are the people who do My Brother and Me, and The Adventure Zone. They're three really wholesome brothers. They play D&D with their dad. Oh, you told me about
these guys. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Griffin looks exactly like the dude with glasses. Griffin looks like the guy with the glasses.
He looks like Tombo?
Yeah.
That's great.
Like, people have made jokes about it. It's great. But basically, I like his whole character because it's like, it's very much like, kind of going like, hey, be a little, it's like, it's weird. I just like it. I'm not sure if it's like, hey, be respectful to others, or if it's like, hey, just be cool. I don't know. I just like his
what I think it is. See, we don't really get established where she's from, aside from a few shots, but it looks like she's kind of from a small town up in the country. And if you watch the Japanese, which is something I actually did for this, I actually watched all 3 audios for this in preparation. First time I've ever watched anything besides the Disney dub. There is the original Studio Ghibli dub. There's a Buena Vista home video dub, which was recorded like just after the movie released in Japan. And then a couple years later, Disney found out about Studio Ghibli and was like, we're buying the rights to all your shit and dubbing it. So there's 3 different versions. And in the Studio Ghibli dub, in that first scene where she lands and she's walking around and Tombo comes up and goes like, hey, you're fucking awesome, I like your shit, you want to go out with me? There's a ton of honorifics and stuff in the Japanese language. He uses none of them. And she's from up in the country. She's probably raised like you got to be very prim and proper. You got to be nice and respectful to people. And because he's a city kid, he just sees something he thinks is cool, and he goes up to that person and goes, "Hey, you're fucking cool. I like you. Let's blah blah blah." Blah." Just not having any manners at all. And so she gets very stuck up initially and is like, "That's not how you talk to people. I don't fucking like you because you're not talking like a normal nice person. Go away."
Yeah, I watched the dub, and that doesn't get across quite as well. But it's just like either way, I still like their whole friendship thing.
I forget what she says in the.
They never explicitly go so far to make it like a romance. It's just more of like, no, they're friends.
I mean, it's very obvious that eventually they'll become romantically involved, but it's more like a childhood, just like we like each other and we kind of get along, so we start hanging out together. And it's also, she's just getting to the age where she's interested in boys, and there's a lot of talk of her being interested in boys and being jealous of girls who have boyfriends in this, which I found very interesting from being from a male perspective. It's one of those things where now that I'm an adult, like as a kid, I never really cared about it. Like obviously I had a fascination with girls. I had the moment where I was like, hey, I like girls. But I never really cared about whether girls liked guys or anything. I never really thought to look into that. But now that I'm an adult, I'm starting to like keep my eye out for media that talks about that and what it's like from the female perspective to get into the opposite sex. And so that was kind of interesting for me to see in this. And it's clear that a lot of her character stuff comes from she's both wants a boyfriend, but she's worried about getting a boyfriend and it distracting for her from becoming a witch, because she's been wanting to be a witch since she was a kid, even though since she was a little kid. And if you watch that opening scene and you're paying attention, it's very obvious that that's what happened to her mom. Like, there's a line between, like, this customer that's with her mom of, like, oh yeah, I remember when you came to town and you were this spunky young girl on your broomstick, very much describing what Kiki's about to become. And it's like, it's super obvious that she just showed up in this town and did kind of what Kiki did, of just met a boy she clicked with right away and then settled down with him and didn't really expand her horizons too much and just went for her one thing, which was potion making. And it's kind of hilarious because Kiki has that going on as well, but her one skill is flying a broom, which every witch can do.
Yeah, but she's that damn good. Also, I like how she's like, I think she's good. She's like, nah, she runs into things all the time, and it's like a nice little detailed touch that she always has to kick herself off of roofs.
Mm-hmm. Or like, there's just a lot of stuff in this that is like, clearly Miyazaki put a lot of time into thinking about, okay, if people could actually fly on broomsticks, what would the physics and like the extra things you'd have to do to allow for that in the world be like? Like, there's a moment when she's taking off and leaving her house and she bangs into those trees and the bells go off. It's one of those things in a movie where you're like, if that wasn't there, you wouldn't think about like, well, why aren't there bells on that tree? But if when it is there, you're like, holy shit, they put bells on the tree because she's a little kid learning how to fly a broom and she's gonna slam into shit. And if the parents are in the house or something, they want to be able to hear if she slams into shit, so she doesn't just get stuck up in a tree for hours on end and dies.
Yeah, which is it's a lot of like, I don't want to say it's not world building. It's just more of like, yeah, that's what will happen.
Another one of those things I really like is Asano, the pregnant baker lady. When Kiki first meets her and she invites her into her home and is like, hey, do you want some hot chocolate? And Kiki's like, yeah, of course. When she's baking the hot chocolate, if you watch the scoops of cocoa powder she takes, she gives Kiki a bigger one than her, because Kiki's a little kid, and of course she's going to want her hot chocolate to be more chocolatey than an adult would, because an adult grows up and goes, this is too sweet. But as a kid, you're just like, give me all that fucking chocolate.
Yeah, and she still puts marshmallows in it.
Mm-hmm. It's it's little things like that in Miyazaki films that get you.
Oh yeah, this is very much watch this person grow up for an hour and a half.
Yeah,
the movie.
And that's kind of like the thing that got me into it this whole time around is like Kiki having no social skills basically was a huge thing that got me in this. Like she almost doesn't get together with Tombo. Like I'm just gonna go ahead and say like I related to Kiki massively in this movie because she has the same kind of social issues as a 13-year-old that I still have as an adult. Like, I'm a very antisocial person. I don't have any local friends at the moment. I don't go out to shit unless I can find a practical reason for it. And it's not because, like, I hate people or anything like that. It's just I'm very dedicated to my work. So, unless I can find a practical reason for me to go somewhere, I tend to stay home and work as much as I can. And Kiki kind of has that too, but in a more like I'm a kid. If I screw something up, I think it's the end of the world way. Like she gets caught in the rain and gets sick and misses that party, and then the next day she's like, "Well, that relationship's fucked. I can never talk to Tombo ever again." And Asano's just like, "You're being silly. Here, go do this delivery for me." And it turns out it's a delivery to Tombo. And there's a little note in it probably explaining, hey, she got sick. That's why she couldn't come. Don't make a big deal out of it. She likes you. And he just reads it very calmly and pockets it like a total champ. Because if that was me, as a kid, I would have read that and been like, oh, holy shit, you were sick. I'm so sorry. I've been being an asshole thinking you gave me the cold shoulder this whole time. There's that, and then when they get down to the beach after flying that half-made flying machine he's made, which is one of the best scenes in the movie, like such a good little sequence. But when they get down there, and then his friends show up, and then they have that moment where he goes over to talk to them, and she's like, "Oh my god, did you see the way they looked at me?" As an outside observer, I'm like, yeah, they just looked at you. They weren't like glaring at you or anything. That's just a thing people do. And also, if you were within hearing distance, you'd know that girl was like, oh, hey, she delivered my fucking birthday cake or whatever it was. She can fly. She's super cool. And they're like, oh, she can fly? Holy shit. But she takes it as, oh, they think I'm a weirdo. And she just leaves. She's just like, these people don't like me. I was connecting with this person, but clearly he wants to hang out with them now, and it's going to be awkward because I don't know them, and I'm not going to be able to form a meaningful connection with them because it's a group thing, and God, I can't handle this. I need to leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh God, I've done that before. Holy shit. That hits me in a place.
Yeah. I was never that awkward.
Mm.
Maybe it's just because I'm much more relaxed.
It strikes me as you were always, from what you've told me about like your high school days and stuff, you strike me as the guy who was always in a group but was never a key player in a group.
Oh no, yeah.
Whereas I just straight up didn't have a school experience, so I have no social skills.
Now that we've grown up and people have started falling away from the group, I'm one of the key players because I was just that chill. Everybody's kind of like, oh yeah, fucking Chris.
Nice.
You know? Like, I was relaxed and chill enough in high school, people thought I was a pothead. Like,
I could see you as a pothead. You'd be very different, but I could see you as a pothead.
But that's my general disposition. It's that, okay, dude, fucking relax, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Calm down. Like it's just that kind of thing, and that's what this movie is. It's good. It's that kind of chill, relax, bro. In fact, there's a whole character that's just fucking relax.
Are you talking about Cabin Lady?
The artist, yes. She's just like fucking Just fucking relax. You'll be fine.
I
It's okay.
love everything with Cabin Lady. She's such a great character because she comes out of nowhere and she's like Kiki's best friend for most of the movie, and like is the main reason Kiki starts to get out of her funk, and in a very interesting way too, where she's just like she kind of reveals that this film is just Miyazaki writing about writer's block, which is really cool. Um, because she has that whole thing where she's like, "Yeah, I loved painting as a kid, but then there was a long time where I couldn't paint, where I just got stuck. I fucking hated my easel. And then I went and did some other shit, and one day I was able to paint again. You just got to be able to take a step back and get over it. You can't sweat the small stuff." And it's like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I really like. There's a small detail that again is just like Kiki does not understand the world around her, and she has way too many. She's way too self-critical of the bit where she's like, "Yeah, I basically tricked you into coming out here because I just want you to model for this painting I'm doing of you." And she goes, "I can't model for you. I'm not very beautiful." And then the lady just starts laughing her ass off. Like, do you have any idea what you look like? You're a Miyazaki girl. Of course you're fucking beautiful.
Yeah. Miyazaki was Lolicon before Lolicon had the bad rap.
Miyazaki is a fucking weeb who hates weebs with a fucking belligerent
It's hard to be
passion.
a weeb when you're fucking Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a guy who makes anime who hates otaku.
Like, have you read the fucking interview with him where he talks about the movie he went to see like 13 times in the theater because he really liked one female character in it, and he literally says she was like my girlfriend at a time where I didn't have a girlfriend, and the entire internet went, Miyazaki had a waifu. Miyazaki hates anime culture, but he had a waifu.
I think he hates more of like how people replace that with real life. Because he's very much like, yeah, because that's very much part of the thing. He said, when I didn't have one. But then he found the girlfriend and I was like, no, okay, fuck, like, yeah, no, I'll just enjoy movies. I think he's more hypercritical of the ones who don't experience real life and then try to make replicas of real life, and it just becomes a shadow of a shadow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
as an
I can see
artist,
that.
I agree with that mindset, because if, like, there's a level of research and understanding you need about the real world in order to tell a story, or else you're just going to get derivative copies.
Yeah, and I definitely have that too, but I'm more in the stage where I need to get myself over, so I'm replacing a whole lot of my life with fiction, and eventually when I am making the money from my art that allows me to have the time to go out and experience life, I fucking will, I swear.
It's all mindset. It's all mindset. As long as you figure your shit out, you're good.
Yeah.
Next time you go to a comic book store, just stay there for like 5 hours, talk to people.
Yeah, that's another reason why I'm trying to get my license, so I can do stuff like that, because when you have a ride, they're very much like, okay, you can be in there for a little bit, but I got shit to do.
like fuck, me and a couple friends, we went into a hobby store with like 40K Warhammer 40K figures and all those model things, and it's like, fuck, dude, that'd be fun. Yeah, board games you can borrow, go into a back room, play a board game. It's like, yeah, that'd be fucking dope.
Yeah, one thing I've really been wanting to do recently is, because I got into the Transformers TCG, I really want to just have an evening off where I just go into my comic shop, because they stay open till about 11 o'clock every night. I want to just go into my comic shop and just be like, hey, I've got the Transformers TCG. Anyone want to play? Because they've got tables set up all over the store. It's not like they have a back room. It's like a couple shelves, table for playing games. Couple shelves, table for playing games.
Yeah. But that's just life, and that's experiencing life. And that's what Kiki lives through. it's a subtle movie. It's very obvious what all the metaphors are. It's, hey, this is growing up. This is learning responsibility. This is realizing that you're not a real child anymore because you
This
can't.
is getting depressed as shit. This is having your first period. Do you get that from that scene? Because I've gotten into a lot of arguments with people over the years.
I mean, it could be.
Like the scene where she gets sick, because she gets over it so fast after being so fucking sick. And from, again, cis white male here, but from what I know of your first period, it is that fucking intense, but is over that quick.
I don't remember.
And she's at the right age.
I don't remember when my sister's first, so.
Mm-hmm. Also, since we're on the topic of sex, I love that the moment Gigi gets laid, he just doesn't give a shit about anything except his girlfriend anymore. Like, yeah, that's kind of exactly what it's like for people and friends sometimes.
Yeah, it can be.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad that she can't hear him talk anymore, that kind of whole thing.
Because it's also a really neat touch in the film where you may not get it the first time watching through, because they play it like, oh, this is the beginning of her going into her depression and her magic not working. And no, it's just, Gigi got laid, he only cares about his family now, and so he has no reason to talk to her anymore. The magic is just gone between them.
But also, she's growing up. It's no longer a childish fantasy. She is a witch now. Yeah,
she doesn't really need a familiar anymore because she can do it herself. And I also like the little, it's a blink and you'll miss it thing, but there's a moment where they're at the cabin girl's house and she's sketching the crows, and it's either Gigi or Kiki, but someone says that, like, witches used to be able to talk to crows, but they just haven't been able to for a long time and nobody knows why. And it's, again, one of the Miyazaki-isms, but it's extremely subtle, because Miyazaki has this thing running through most of his films where he tries to push the idea that we used to be really close to nature and now humans don't give a shit, and it's kind of messing things up.
Yeah, he's very environmentalist.
Mm-hmm. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to touch on.
It's very well animated.
Oh yeah, like I was kind of trying to talk about that with the different sequences and stuff, but yeah, this is a beautiful looking film. Like, the flying is just so well done. People have talked about, like, the Harry Potter films are some of the best flying out there. It looks so realistic, and I want to be in those scenes with them. Nah, man, Kiki's Delivery Service. That's the best broomstick flying on film. I also really like the.
If we're just talking about general flying, How to Train Your Dragon, though.
I have not seen those movies.
They're good.
I've been told. It's one of those things where it's on the list. I will get to it in probably another 5 years, but I will get to it. I also want to say I really like the sound design in the movie. It very much fits in with that theme of flying, where everything has this very wispy, very kind of quality to it, and I like.
It's very. What's the fucking word? Diegetic. Because any music we hear, usually the radio's right by, so it's like, oh, it's coming from the radio.
Yeah, like nice. The opening sequence, it starts up the credits, and it's like, yeah, it's big, loud, bombastic, here's the theme of the movie. But then, like, after like 2 or 3 credits, it just cuts, and it's the kind of quality it would sound like coming out of that dinky little radio. And it's really cute and nice. Also, you can buy a replica of that radio from Barnes & Noble, of all places, I found out after watching the movie, because I was like, I want to look up some Kiki's Delivery merchandise. I might buy myself a Gigi plush. And I found that, and I was like, what the fuck? And apparently it plays all the songs from the movie. Not the soundtrack, but all the, like, licensed songs, which is cool.
That's cute. I'm pretty sure they sell, like, Kiki stuff at fucking Epcot, Japan.
I would not be surprised.
I mean, they sell like a shit ton of Totoro plushes.
Oh yeah,
It had like,
Totoro plushes will never go out of style.
and they had like SIC Kamen Rider Gaiam.
What?
Yeah, like they have a couple like high-end Japanese toys behind the counter that you can buy, and they had like SIC Gaiam.
That's kind of crazy.
It was the only Kamen Rider thing in that whole goddamn store. But they had SIC Gaiam.
Disney selling Kamen Rider merch. Power Rider confirmed, guys.
But no, this is one, like, here's the thing, Miyazaki films are always consistent, so it's hard to say, oh, this is the worst Miyazaki film, because the worst Miyazaki film is still a damned good film.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, at least I think it has, here's a controversial hot take, lukewarm hot take. This is a better relaxed feel good movie than Totoro.
That's interesting to hear.
Because the relaxed nature comes from the activities that are going on, and not just, ooh, look at that. There's substance to the relaxed nature.
Okay. Yeah, I've not seen Totoro, but that's interesting to hear. And also, since you were talking about like rankings and stuff, from what I've heard, a lot of people consider this to be like the most mid-card Miyazaki film. Which makes sense, because a lot of people tend to go for stuff like Spirited Away, which I don't want to disparage Spirited Away, because it is one of the only other ones I've seen. It is quite good, but it's not my kind of quite good.
Yeah, no. And again, like I said earlier, Poco Rosso.
Mm. Yeah.
Don't know why. It's just, fuck. Give me a guy who regrets his past trying to make up for it, and a fist fight and airplanes and combat. It's like, fuck yeah. Make him a pig. Hell yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this one is definitely my favorite. And fucking Wind Rises, after it came out, was my favorite for a little bit, but then I started getting nostalgic for this movie a couple of years ago. And I was just like, nah, it's Kiki's Delivery Service. That's the one I grew up with. That's the one I know the best. That's my favorite.
Hey, Kiki.
Also, I just discovered this while looking at the Wikipedia page while we were recording. This is based on a series of books.
Yeah.
I really want those books to be translated.
I think they have a couple translations.
Like, I want like official translations of them done up into audiobooks. Disney, do that shit, and that's instant buys for me.
Yeah, the one buy that they're gonna get.
But yeah, I think that's about all we have to say. So why don't we go ahead and do a quick fucked up fruit fact with Chris?
I'm trying to figure out which one I want to use. Let's see. Let's use this one. Eating lots of onions will make you sleepy, as it acts as a sedative.
Huh. That's interesting. I've never heard that, considering like all you ever hear with onions is, oh, they make you cry.
Not if you know how to fucking cut them.
Mm-hmm. But that's interesting. I'll have to remember that for reasons.
Because you want to cry yourself to sleep.
Yes. I'm gonna watch the depression scene in Kiki, and then I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep by eating a ton of onions. That's my day of being a glutton for punishment.
That's your day planned.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Chris, are you ready to find out what we're going to be talking about on the next episode?
It doesn't matter what I say, because you're just going to do it anyway.
You're goddamn right. As soon as I get the fucking random name picker up. I forgot to pick it up while I was prepping for the show. Okay, here we go. Okay, we are going to be talking about another thing suggested by me, another anime, this time a series. We are going to be talking about K-On!
Oh, lovely.
I take it you don't have a very high opinion of this show.
It's just never been a thing I wanted to watch.
Well, you might be pleasantly surprised by this. Also,
Considering my taste for musical fucking anime with Beck.
That's fair. I feel like this is the more complete, fleshed out Beck, though.
You take that motherfucking back.
I don't know. We'll see how you feel. We'll talk about it in a week or two, depending on how long it takes you to watch through this, because it's 2 seasons. Okay. Fucking. It's late. I'm starting to get hot and sweaty from my computer having been recording for so long. So tell everybody where they can find your shit, Chris.
I am Boingo Writer. You can find my shit on YouTube at Boingo Writer. You can follow me on Twitter at Boingo_Writer. Follow me on Instagram at Boingo_Writer. You can join my Discord server. Link to that is in the description. I do video editorials of a filtered fashion. It's very much me, but it's like weird. It's bad to call yourself weird. It's just I try to do a different take than others.
I am Simeon Scott. That's Simeon Scott. You can find me at thatsimeonscott.com. It's a link to every YouTube video I've ever made because I make a shit ton of YouTube videos in a shit ton of different places. You can follow me on the social medias at that Simeon Scott on Twitter, at that Simeon Scott with underscores on the Instagram. Hey, this podcast, it's a production of Modular Media. You can get all the podcasts we make as they come out by subscribing to the channel. You can listen to them on the go by going to the Google Drive folder in the video description. You can fucking follow us on Twitter at the Modular Media. You can subscribe to our subreddit r/Modular Media. Do things to support us. Be that cool person that I know you can be. And hey, we'll see you next time on Analytical Fanboys when we will be talking about chaos.